Let's just say you recently lost your job. Let's also just say that you're in debt up to or above your eyeballs and you are struggling to survive now. Let's also say that you're worried about how you're going to pay your rent, your car payment, your electric bill, your phone bill, and all your credit cards, plus put groceries on it. You're wondering, how in the world am I going to make this happen? Let me ask you this, and I'm not doing this to convict your heart. I'm not doing this to condemn you. I'm doing this to open your eyes to this financial matrix. Remember, that's the background upon which we're building here. Did you incur all that debt? In other words, did you sign for it? Yes. Did you spend all that money on those credit cards because of the easy payment plan, thinking, I make enough, I can handle this, I need my TV is old and the picture's going fuzzy. I need a new TV. Instead of saving for 2 or 3 months and paying cash for it, you just flip out the credit card, get it now. Now, instead of having to save, $200 a month for 3 months, I can pay $25 a month for the next 2 years. And then, you're going to go out to dinner or you're going to go to a wedding and, I need something to wear. So you go down and you buy a new dress or new suit or whatever, and flip out the credit card again. The tires are starting to get a little old on the car. Let me save some money and, I need $600 for new tires. Instead of saving for a couple months, pay cash for the tires, flip out the credit card again. Then you lost your job. Right? Are you the one who signed all those credit card statements promising to pay? What about your car payment? Did you buy the car because of the payment plan? That's how cars are marketed nowadays. When I was growing up, they would advertise a car and say, starts at $3,700. Yeah, this is back in the 60s. All right. Let's say $37,000 today. They don't say that. They say, because people say, wow, $37,000. Wow, for a car? $56,000 for a car? Really? Instead, they talk about lease this car for $499 a month. Yeah, that sounds good. At the end of the 3 years, of which you can only drive 12,000 miles a year, so don't take it on a cross-country trip every year. Don't drive from Maine to Florida every winter. At the end of the lease, they charge you extra for every mile you go over. They charge you extra for any maintenance that has to be done on it. You're still responsible for changing the oil and the tires and the upkeep and all that on the car. And at the end of the lease, you don't get the car back. It doesn't belong to you. Oh, you can purchase it from them at that point in time and then make your payments over, the next 5 years. So basically, they're keeping you in bondage for 8 years, 10 years. How many of you have bought a car and 2 years later decide, I want to get that new model? And you go down and you still owe, $8,000 on your old one. And I said, no problem, we'll roll it over into your new loan. So now instead of $37,000, you're paying $45,000. Your payment went up, but hey, I got a new car out of the deal. That's all right. It only went up another $100 a month. Did God sign that for you, or did you sign that note? Like I said, I'm not doing this to condemn you, okay? Could you survive if you did not have your credit card bills or your car payment? Would your finances be in better shape? If you answer honestly, it's probably yes, right? Listen, I'm not saying this to condemn you. I'm right there with you. I'm with you, believe me. And I am a work in progress as well. But I'm sharing with you what God has shown me. And this is how it works. God gets on me, I get on you. That's how this works, okay? Well, Brother Bob, everybody has debt today. I need this car. We all have to have some kind of credit cards. And besides, if we don't spend money on the credit cards and show that we can make the payments, our credit score goes down. That's true. It is true. But let's get back to the premise of the series, the financial matrix. This is the system designed by the system to keep you in bondage. Did you know you are a slave to the system? You may say you're free. I'm not a slave. That's what they used to talk about, with Jesus. They say, we're the stock of Abraham. Nobody is us in bondage. And Jesus is like, you're in bondage and you don't even know it. You're in bondage and you are thinking. You're thinking that you're free. And that's how the financial matrix operates in society today. They make you think you're prosperous. They make you think you're in control. But remember what the Bible says. The borrower is a servant to the lender. The lenders are the one controlling the money supply. You want money? Go see the banker. I don't have time. How much time we got yet? I don't have time to get in. We'll get into this next time. Next time I'm going to discuss the history of the financial system we're operating under right now. But basically, just superficially, I told you about how the elitists started off by owning slaves. That's how they controlled what was going on. Then they owned the land so they could still control the people to make their profits. And now they control the money supply because you have to have money to survive. Money itself is not inherently evil. Money itself is a tool to be used. It can be used for good or it can be used for evil. Money is neutral. Money itself has no intrinsic value. The only value money has is the value you place on it. I can name some people, I'm going to do it, that give away 75, 80, I know some that 90% of the income they earn, they give away. They are using it to impact this world and get the gospel out. And they're happy with living on 10% of what they make. Now, you might be thinking, there is no way I could live on 10% of what I make. Maybe you're not making enough. When I first joined the Army, I made $462 per month, and I thought I was living high on the hog. I mean, $100 a week, and I'm living in the barracks and eating in the mess hall. I had it made. It wasn't long when I realized, I need a promotion. And boom, I got PFC. I went up to $600 a month. And I made Spec 4 and went to $800 and some a month. Man, I doubled my income. This is great. But why was money still tight? Because I was allowing money to control me instead of the other way around. Some of my friends, they started off at $462 a month, and they were putting 10% of it into retirement. Or retirement, you're 18 years old, dude. I don't think we said dude back then. I think it was man. Retirement, you're 18 years old, man. What you doing that for? You can do that later. Let's go party. Every time they got a promotion, they just upped how much they were saving. So when they were Spec 4s making $800 a month, now they're saving $80 a month instead of $40 a month. They became NCOs, E5s, E6s, making $2,000 a month. They're saving $200 a month for retirement. When I caught up with them 20 years later, they had $100 and some thousand in their retirement. How much did I have? Zero. Because I spent it all. I allowed money to control me. I wanted things. And money is how I got things. But let's go back to the premise again. The financial matrix. The system is designed to keep you in bondage, to keep you as a slave. You may not want to admit it. You may not want to call yourself a slave, but that's what you are. You are a slave to the system that we live in today, even in the United States. You may be in whatever country you're listening to me in. You are a slave to the system. It's not of God. It's of the world. Amen. Don't shut me down when I'm preaching good. What did Jesus say about the world? The world hates you. If you're a Christian, the world hates you. And if the world hates you, that means they're against you. And if they're against you, that means they're going to try and get you every chance they can. If you get to the point where you are out of debt, spiritually speaking, that's great. You now have money that you can help other people with. According to the world's system, you don't have any debt. What are you, weird? You know, look at, you don't have any debt. Your mortgage is paid for. You got a $300,000 house that you paid for. Look at what you could do if you took out a home equity loan. I mean, you could, build a bigger house. You could sell that house and get $300,000, put a down payment on $1 million mansion. I mean, you could go on vacation around the world. You could do all this stuff. All that money's locked up in your mortgage or in your house, and you can't access it. That's the world's thinking on this. It's not of God. That's of the world. It's so deceiving. It is so easy to fall into that trap. And it is a trap. But just like the devil and subtle sin, you've heard about the saying about sin, right? Sin will take you where you want to go, make you pay more than you thought you would spend, and keep you there longer than you thought you'd stay. In some cases, you may never escape. There are people today that started at 25 years old with a mortgage. Back when I was growing up, they were just beginning. The World War II had ended, and they came out with the VA loans to allow all these people coming back because they had basically given up everything, their farms and everything. So they had nothing to go back to. So the government said, we're going to give you these loans to help you get started. Now, that was late 40s. By the time I was born in the late 50s, mortgages were starting to become the normal thing to do. There was starting to become, I emphasize that, 25% of the people still save to buy a house. But prior to that time, a husband and wife would get married, rent an apartment or live with the parents or whatever, while they saved money so they could go buy a piece of land and build their own house. Little small house, might only be, 1 bedroom. Maybe the whole house was 600-700 square feet, but it was theirs. And then they'd save some more and then sell the house to someone else just starting off, and they'd upgrade to maybe 1,000 square foot house with 2 bedrooms, right? But in the 60s, the mortgages came into being, and people were going, oh man, I can get a $30,000 house now and just make payments on it. Great. And to encourage it, the government allowed you to write off the taxes, your interest on taxes. They allowed you back then, because of credit cards just coming on the scene, they allowed you to deduct the interest on the credit cards. Go figure. And then the government said, man, so many people owe so much on credit cards, we're losing all this money that they're letting them deduct in interest. Let's just wipe out the interest on the credit card. They can still keep the interest deduction on the mortgage, and now they're trying to take that away. But you lost it on the credit cards. Instantly, people owed more taxes. The government's happy. This is great. We get to spend more money. But folks, the mortgages themselves are keeping you in bondage. Oh, you have to have how else can I buy a house without a mortgage? Okay, so if you're not in a position to pay cash for the house, use a mortgage, but pay the mortgage off early. Well, that locks up all my equity. You're falling for the trap of the deception. Sin is serious, folks. Financial sin is serious. Now, as I said, we're all out of time. So the next time I'm going to discuss with you the financial matrix and its origins. Let me just say this as we get ready to close. 1 Timothy 6, verse 9 and 10. Those who want to become rich bring temptation to themselves and are caught in a trap. They want many foolish and harmful things that ruin and destroy people. The love of money causes all kinds of evil. Some people have left the faith because they wanted to get more money, but they've caused themselves much sorrow. Does that sound familiar? I can raise my hand to that. If you're honest, you will too. But let's look at the verses immediately preceding these. 1 Timothy 6, verses 6, 7, and 8. But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and we could take nothing out of it. But If we have food and clothing, we should be content with that. Being content. That does not mean you cannot desire to get greater wealth. Just use it for good. Do not accumulate things. There's nothing wrong with things. You can possess things. Don't let the